Hey, all right, folks, welcome back to part 2 of my 3-part Q&A from my CDT thru-hike of 2022. If you didn't already watch part 1, go back, watch part 1. Might help make sense here of part 2. We'll be addressing some more of your questions in the third and final installment next week in part 3. But for now, here is the second installment of the Q&A session.
We're gonna go a little deeper.
Deeper?
Yeah. Questions of the heart.
Okay, so we're going for the emotion. Okay, so now we're out of the nuts and bolts section, and we're going into like emotions and emotional sections. I feel like I'm going to struggle with these answers.
You'll be good. From Jill G, do you get melancholy on trail? What do you do to pass the time on trail, or is that even an issue?
Melancholy? No, I never got melancholy on trail. That's pretty easy for me. I enjoy being out there, and I wouldn't be out there if I didn't enjoy it. So, I think this is going to segue into another one of Jill's questions later.
Yeah, she has another question.
What do I do to pass the time on trail? I just think a lot. I mean, and I'll confess or say too, I don't know if it's a matter of confession, but you know, I liked podcasts and audiobooks too. I definitely burnt through some audiobooks. I definitely burnt through a ton of podcasts. My rule for the AT that I tried to obey for this trail was no audiobooks or podcasts or whatever, no headphones before noon. Like,
okay.
Keep the morning for the head and watch the day start and watch, you know, the rule sort of went back and forth on the AT, either until noon or until the birds stopped singing, because they'll slow down towards the second half of the day. But there were no birds on this trail, so that didn't really work. Not really, not like there were on the AT.
Yeah.
So audiobooks and podcasts were nice, especially the second half of the day once you start getting a little tired or whatever. What would I do to pass the time? I mean, walk, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, like look at stuff, think about things, I don't know.
Yeah.
There was a time late on trail where I mentioned, I was trying to remember a boxer's name, the guy who fought Manny Pacquiao for his last match. Like, anytime you get something like that where you can really just chew it and work it, and like walk along chewing on it, like I don't remember this dude's name, like Floyd Mayweather is his name.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, you think about anything you want. I don't know. I have fun in my head. Like I can entertain myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and frequently there'll be stuff on trail. Like the trail will give you something to think about. If you're watching how trees grow or wondering how something came to be, like why does this branch grow this way, or why is that rock sitting there? And you can really think about what natural events led up to this environmental anomaly, which I've seen or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine.
She has some more questions. How do you want me to just like do them one by one?
I don't know.
Read it all?
Yeah.
How difficult is post-trail re-entry? Do excess people or noises bother you? Do you long to be back out on the trail? Do comforts of home outweigh the benefits of being on trail?
This is a many-part question.
How long before you miss it?
All right. So let's see.
How difficult is it to re-entry?
Post-trail re-entry?
I think excess people and noises bother you?
Yeah. Excess noises and people. I guess I'll start there because it relates to like my time in Yellowstone. I had heard that a lot of hikers struggle with Old Faithful and this because it's just so busy. I think I felt a lot of these things to which I think Jill is referring. I think I felt these more on the AT last year than I did on this trail. Excess noises and people. I'm much more aware of it, but I don't think it. I guess it bothers me, but I don't think it it doesn't ruin me. You know, like I guess if I had my druthers, things would just be calm, and more of life would be nature and natural. But that's not the way it is. I don't know. How difficult is post-trail?
I remember you had called me once from the AT, and it was like you were back in town or something. You were like, "Oh man, it's like so busy." Like you seemed like it was a bit of like sensory overload.
Yeah, it can be.
But do you think maybe because the CDT is so much more remote, like even like on your resupply days, that is like, or when you're in town, the towns are so much smaller than on the AT, so it's kind of like you don't get that kind of overwhelming like you know, like when you stop at Pigeon Forge or
Right,
whatever.
right, yeah,
on
Pigeon
the
Forge was
AT.
crazy. Yeah, Gatlinburg.
You know, is it that sort of thing maybe? Or I don't know. Just
I don't know. I think that having done this before, there's going to be a lot of questions where I'm going to say, having done this before, I think it was just a different experience. For one, it's a radically different trail.
Yeah.
And second, I just did the AT last year, so I feel like some of these things, and as far as re-entry, like I kind of knew what to expect, and I've only been home for like 10 days since the trail ended or something like that, because we went to Buffalo.
Yeah.
So, and as far as the difficulty of re-entry, I feel like so far it's been a little easier this time. And as far as what I think Jill's referring to, like the headspace of it all.
Yeah, yeah.
Excess noises and people. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Even when I'm on trail, I feel like going to town, and even on the AT, as much as it can be very jarring to like come around a hill and suddenly hear like interstate highway noise, and just you're just kind of like, it's a little abrasive.
Mm-hmm.
I do like seeing people, and I like being in town too. Like I like having restaurants and streets and things like that, you know? I mean, my wife Daff and I lived in DC for 8 years before I got on the AT, and you know, I don't know. I mean, I guess I like it either way, really. What were some of the other parts of this? Do you long to be back out there? Yeah, absolutely. Do the comforts of home outweigh the benefits of being on trail? Outweigh, no. I wouldn't say they outweigh. Do they outweigh the benefits of being on trail? Do they outweigh it? No. Not outweigh. But I don't know. I guess I'm very happy having a foot in both worlds.
Yeah.
I love being home when I'm home, and I love being on trail when I'm on trail. And when I'm home, I want to be on trail. When I'm on trail, I want to be home. Yeah, it's just
being present and sort of just appreciating the world you're in at that moment.
I think so. I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just letting it be what it is and enjoying it for what it is. And I don't know, when you long for something you don't have, it makes you appreciate it more too, irrespective of what it is. And having like the perspective to realize that even in the hardest times of being on trail, or for that matter, even in like the most like humdrum, monotonous, electrically powered, you know, municipal water accessibility at home, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's having the perspective to understand that that's still an amazing like blessing, really. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is nice. So are things, yeah, like things are difficult. It's hard to reacclimate, I guess. But that's part of it, and that difficulty is part of what makes all of it so good. As much as I hate to admit that.
Is there, just to wrap up her question, like, is there a time where you really start to miss it? I know you said, like, you know, when you're home you miss the trail, when you're trail you miss home. Is there like does it like lead up to a certain point where you're like, oh man, I really miss the trail? Or are there like specific kind of moments that trigger you or whatever to be like, oh man, I really miss the trail?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. Like I miss sleeping in the cold and waking up in the cold, which sounds crazy because I sure didn't miss it when it was happening.
I was gonna say.
But like fresh air and crisp, everything was crisp on trail, you know, everything's fresh. Everything is like fresh and full of life and vitality.
Yeah.
Just the environment, I think, is what I miss the most about being on trail. Is fresh air, fresh water, clean water, you know. That sort of stuff I miss the most.
Yeah.
But like it's amazing, you know, to have central air and sleep next to my wife. That's amazing too. And I didn't have any of that on trail. So, you know, I don't know about outweigh necessarily. I wouldn't say outweigh. I wouldn't say one outweighs the other.
Gotcha. From Kimberly Penny, was it a big mind challenge to stay on trail?
It could be. Yeah, it could be. I'll say this. On the AT, when I finished the AT, I can honestly say that by the end of the trail, I had never thought about quitting the entire AT. And this trail, I did think about quitting.
Really?
Yeah. I was never going to. Like, I was never like, next town, I'm going to take a bus and like that. Nah, that's not me. That's not. But I thought about it.
I would have thought it was the other way around.
Really?
Yeah.
No, the AT I never thought about quitting. And this trail I did think about it. I thought about it, but I was never going to do it.
Can I ask, like, what?
It's just
what
hard,
made
man.
you-
It's just hard. Like this trail is so much harder than the Appalachian Trail. It's just way harder. Like
Yeah.
I'll have to do a whole different video on why or how, because I don't even really understand it. But this trail was way harder. So what was the question? Was it a big mind challenge to stay on trail? I don't. But those moments that wasn't a constant consideration. So in as far as like the qualifying adjective of big, I think is doing a lot of work. I wouldn't say it was a big mind challenge to stay on trail. There were times where it was hard, but I mean the other thing about that is like I always got to keep reminding myself like, dude, if I just stay home for 5 months, I'll have bad days at home too.
Yeah.
You know? So you'll have bad days on trail and you'll have bad days at home.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of the way, I don't know, welcome to humanity. Like, welcome
it's a
to
good
existence.
way of looking
like,
at it that way. Like,
you know, some days are hard. Some days are really, really, really hard. And, you know, but don't let those days get in the way of enjoying what it is that you're doing. You know, just let them happen. Just wear them and then move on from them.
yeah.
So let it be what it is.
Robert Finehouse asks, was it hard going from hiking with Midnight to solo hiking?
Yeah, I mean, I missed Midnight was great, man. Midnight was good stuff. I missed hiking with her. Was it hard going? I was a little like, I don't know, I was curious how I would react to our parting ways. Like as that day was drawing near where she was gonna peel off in, what was it, Twin Lakes, I think? Grand Lake. I think it was Grand Lake, Colorado. Yeah, it was Grand Lake where she peeled off. I was wondering how I was gonna react to that.
Yeah.
But it was fine. I mean, no disrespect to Midnight, like I really liked hiking with her.
Oh.
Yeah, no,
some
but
tea.
yeah. No, but it was fine. It was fine, and I'm sure it was fine for her too. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I like Midnight, and you know, we've been in touch and stuff like that, and
Oh, good.
we were in touch after we parted ways. You know, we were following each other,
Yeah.
paying attention to where we were and how we're doing and stuff. No, and honestly, to be perfectly honest, like, I feel like I'd be remiss for not saying I loved hiking with Midnight, but I'm also sure that she feels the same about this. That's why I'm comfortable saying it, is that it sounds mean, and I don't mean it mean, but I'm happy that I got an opportunity to solo hike and hike on my own. Like, you need, at least for me, that's a big part of it too. Like,
Yeah.
I never felt like oppressed or whatever, like overrun by Midnight's presence. You know, it was never that. Because really, we pretty much
really oppressive, like through the videos. No, I'm
yeah,
just
right.
kidding.
No, I mean, we pretty much just camped together was the other thing. You know, we'd
Yeah.
camp and we'd meet for lunch, but then we only ever hiked really pretty much on our own.
Yeah.
And so that made it a really, I think that added a lot of longevity to that relationship, was that we weren't hiking side by side the whole way down the
Right.
trail.
Yeah.
But I'm happy I got an opportunity to hike alone. I'm happy that I did hike alone. And I'm really happy that I hiked with Midnight as well.
Yeah.
So honestly, I kind of feel like that was the perfect outcome,
Yeah.
you know, hiking
Yeah.
with her, and then she had to go do her thing and I did my
Yeah.
thing. It was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as I said before, I don't know if she watches this or not,
No.
but I was happy that you hiked with Midnight. I felt like
Me too.
I felt like reassured that you had like a buddy
Yeah.
trail with you.
Yeah,
so.
and she was, I mean, invaluable to have someone with her level of expertise through Colorado.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
like,
some of those, like,
isn't she like a mountaineer?
Yeah.
So, and then Mark Pulley asked if you've heard from Midnight Chocolate.
Yeah, we've been in touch for sure. She's good stuff, and we've texted back and forth. I know that she just got a house. Yeah, so she's out of the Denver area. I know that was kind of her goal. She's off closer to Grand Junction, way out in western Colorado. So that was the other part of her goal, was put herself in spitting distance of Utah to keep getting out and doing outdoor
Climbing
stuff and
mountains.
hiking.
Yeah, good for her.
Nothing's gonna beat Utah for that.
Yeah, good for her. We're gonna kind of switch gears and go over to production.
Okay,
Production
another gear
side.
shift. So we're off of emotional stuff and into production stuff.
Yes. Rusty, Kimberly, Penny, and Robin Feinhout ask, where do you source your music, and can you share your playlist?
Yeah, so a lot of people were asking about music, clearly. Yeah, so for music, this year I had a service called Epidemic Sound, a kind of touchy name, I suppose. Epidemic Sound was like a subscription service. You pay an annual fee, and then you can use any of the songs on there without worrying about royalties and copyrights and things like that. And I liked it. And as far as sharing a playlist, I don't know if I can or not. I don't think there's a way for me to do that super easily.
I did like search some of the songs and added them to my own playlist.
Okay, like Shazam them or whatever.
Yeah, so I don't know, like if on even like on your YouTube channel you can create a playlist. I don't know if the songs would like transfer over to Spotify or like Apple Music or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll look into it. I don't know if I can create a playlist or not. If I can, I will.
I liked a lot of the songs too. I thought that was a good question to see if there's a playlist.
I'm glad everyone enjoyed it.
Yeah. Another one from Jill G. Did you pick any music out before the hike so they were ready to use, or were you picking those songs out as you went?
I mean, I know how I downloaded them all beforehand, basically. So I spent many hours sitting in front of my computer listening, because there's no way to like, I don't know what's going to work for a video and what's not. So I downloaded 200 songs or 300 songs or more, I don't know how many, and saved them all locally on my phone. And I tried to like drop them into folders. So I had one folder that was like country twang, one folder that was pop, one folder that was sunrise, sunset, one folder that was like sad, or another, or whatever. Like, so there'd be
like tagged
kind of
by
general
emotions.
sort of themes, but I had to do that all in advance, because there was no way. There's no service on trail. It'd be very foolhardy to assume that there's going to be service on trail. So if I'm going to process videos every night in my tent and I want to have music on those videos, I have to have that music saved locally. Otherwise, this is not going to work.
Did you get that one, like when you and Midnight did Part Ways, you had that one song? What was it?
When I walk in. Patsy Cline, I think. There were some songs that I think in like the state songs when I got to Colorado, or when I hadn't downloaded those in advance. But then I would know that those are coming. So when I was in town, I'd be like, oh, let me go find a song that's going to fit this exact moment. How
did you get, just a personal question, like, I know you watched that show, that like cowboy show.
1883, I think.
Yeah, because I saw like you had put a couple of like sound clips from that show into your video, and I saw that like, people were commenting about it. Was that kind of the same thing where you kind of got that as you went, like as you were walking, you kind of remembered that
so
sort
I
of
watched that show. That show was amazing, by the way. 1883.
Not sponsored.
Loved it. Really, really a great show. But like as I was watching it, because each episode begins with these little monologues by the main protagonist of the show. Okay. And like as I was watching the series, I was like, dude, each one of these monologues is like tailor-made for hiking. They're all brilliant. Like they're just wonderful. Like they're great. And so before I left, I ripped all the audio from just those monologues, and then saved those locally on my phone too. Okay. I saved I think it was all 10. I saved all the monologues from the show on my phone. Cool. But a lot of them, come to find out, were pretty somber, pretty dark too. Yeah. Like I didn't use all of them.
If you like when you like forged that one river that kind of took you out, you put in a little sound clip from Yellowstone, or not Yellowstone.
1883.
Yeah, and I was like.
Yeah. Ooh.
Dave Lipsia, are you carrying a GoPro with a selfie stick?
I am carrying a GoPro, and I'm not carrying a selfie stick in the most technical sense of the word. I have, there's a company called StickPick, stickpick.com, I think, and the dude who makes those is a former thru-hiker, and it's just a little attachment, basically a tiny little piece that can attach to the bottom of the GoPro, and then a bolt, just to like a plastic thumb bolt, sort of, to screw it onto the tip of the trekking pole, so that you can use your trekking pole as a selfie stick, essentially. So I wasn't carrying a selfie stick exactly, but that's the brilliance of the stick pick, is that if you're hiking, you already have your trekking poles, and it was great. I mean, that stick pick lived on my GoPro at all times. I took it off only when I put my GoPro in my sleeping bag to sleep with it in cold weather. Otherwise, I was holding my GoPro by the stick pick mount, and I love it.
And you get those online?
Yeah, they're cheap, and that guy's great too. He took great care of me. If anything ever broke or I lost a component, he would get it right out. He's like, dude, no question, I want you to have a successful hike. I want you to be able to enjoy this product, and he'd get it right out. He's in California, I think.
Yeah, and they're light too.
Yeah.
Hammer Wrench asks, what are you filming with, editing software, etc.?
So I film with the GoPro Hero 9, I think is what it is. Love the products, don't love the company, but that's a whole different thing. Teaser. I'm editing with software called Power Director on my phone. I really like it quite a bit. There was like a trial version of it that I downloaded and installed before the AT, and I just kind of tinkered with it and played with it, and it's great, man. I mean, it's just as functional as I need. It's probably got a lot of functionality I don't utilize. It has a few limitations, but
are you filming with editing software?
In and by the large, I love it. I mean, I'm not even experimenting with any other softwares. It works very well for me. I like it quite a bit, and I have the full price version. I don't know what it is, $70 for a year or something like that. So it's another one of those labors of love components that you just pay for it.
And Mark Poley asks, how much filming gets thrown out to make the final product?
Mostly not a lot. Sometimes some.
Really?
Yeah. Mostly if I shoot a clip, I'm gonna wind up using it.
Oh, okay.
But frequently, if there are shots that I really want, that I'm like, dude, this is a slam dunk, I just really have to make sure that I get it.
Yeah.
Then I'll shoot it 6 times or something. So it's very silly, because I'll just walk forward and walk back or whatever,
Yeah.
and make sure. And so again, because I'm holding that trekking pole all the way extended out, which I guess is what, like 140 centimeters, I think is the max length of my trekking pole. And then I'm, whatever, like swinging the camera behind me or whatever. But if you hold it too far up, then you don't get the tops of the mountains. If you hold it too far down, then you don't really get enough reference points to understand the depth or the angles or whatever. I don't know. So for the most part, not a lot gets dumped. I mean, every clip will have a bit at the beginning and a bit at the end.
Yeah.
That gets snipped off. But in as far as full clips that get jettisoned or ignored or binned or whatever, there's not usually a ton of those. I must have shot about 100 clips of the Chinese Wall in the Bob Marshall Wilderness. And as much as I really wanted to use them all, and I did probably use more than I should have, I guess, because it was just such a cool thing. Dude, I dumped a ton of clips from the Chinese Wall, just because I was like, this is going to be the most boring video ever. It's just boring clips of the same stupid thing, but it was really cool, so, whatever.
All right. That's it for production.
Okay.
Is it all right if we take a little break?
Sure, of course.
Say that.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for watching part 2 of the Q&A. Next week we will have the 3rd and final installment, as well as a little montage of some of the hikers I hiked with on the CDT. So you want to be sure to check that out as well. Again, if you are interested in doing a live stream, please do drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think about that. Thanks so much for watching. I will check in with you next week.